Have you ever wondered what would happen if you couldn't let go of your past? What if every memory, every regret, and every triumph became a physical burden you had to carry? This is the story of Novak, a man who did just that. In a world not so different from our own, there lived a man named Novak. Once a carefree traveler with dreams as vast as the horizon, Novak's life took a turn when he lost someone dear to him. Who was this person? We'll find out soon, but first let me ask you, have you come across any situation that changed your entire life? Novak, unable to cope with his loss, began collecting memories. Every trinket, every letter, every reminder of happier times went into an ornate chest. At first it was a comfort, but as years passed, the chest grew heavier both literally and metaphorically. Now picture Novak. Once tall and straight-backed, now bent under the weight of a chest so large that it seemed to engulf him. His clothes, worn and dusty from years on the road, hung loosely on his frame. His eyes, once bright with wanderlust, now seemed dimmed by the constant strain. Every morning, Novak would hoist the chest onto his back with a groan that seemed to come from his very soul. He'd set out on the winding road that never ended, passing through lush valleys, over mountains and across scorching deserts. Other travelers passed him by easily. Children skipped along, merchants drove their carts, young adventurers strode purposefully. All looked at Novak with a mixture of curiosity and pity. But Novak barely noticed, focused only on his next laborious step. One sweltering afternoon, as Novak trudged through a sun-baked canyon, he encountered an old woman sitting in the shade of a gnarled tree. Her eyes sparkled with wisdom as she called out, "Why do you carry such a burden, traveler?" Novak paused, surprised by the directness of her question. "This chest," he panted, "contains everything that matters to me. My memories, my dreams, my very life." The old woman cackled. "Is that so? When was the last time you opened it?" Novak frowned. He couldn't remember. But surely that didn't matter. He knew what was inside. How could he forget? "Open it," the old woman urged. "See for yourself what you carry." But Novak shook his head. "I cannot. The contents are too precious, too fragile." The old woman's eyes softened. "Ah, my child, it is not the contents that are fragile, but you who have become brittle under their weight." As Novak walked away, her words echoed in his mind. What do you think, dear viewer? Was the old woman right? Have you ever held on to something so tightly that it started to hurt you? Days passed and Novak found himself climbing a steep mountain path. As he rounded a bend, he came upon a group of children playing with colored stones. They stopped and stared at him, their eyes wide with wonder. A little girl with braids called out, "Mister, why do you carry that big box? Doesn't it hurt?" Novak managed a small smile. "It does, little one. But I must carry it. It holds everything that matters to me." The children exchanged glances. "We could help you carry it," a boy suggested eagerly. For a moment Novak was tempted. His shoulders ached and his legs trembled with exhaustion. But then fear gripped his heart. What if they dropped the chest? What if they damaged its precious contents? "Thank you, children," he said, "but this is my burden to bear." As he walked away, he heard one child whisper to another, "But if everything that matters is in the box, how can he enjoy anything now?" The question lingered in Novak's mind. like a pebble in his shoe, impossible to ignore. Have you ever turned down help when you really needed it? Why do you think Novak refused the children's offer? Weeks turned to months and still Novak traveled. The chest seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. It was during one of his rest breaks in a bustling marketplace that he met the merchant. The man's eyes glittered as he approached, taking in the chest's ornate design. "My good man," he said, his voice smooth as silk, "that is a magnificent piece you carry. Surely it must be worth a fortune." Novak nodded warily. "It is beyond price." The merchant's smile widened. "Everything has a price, my friend. I would be willing to offer you a king's ransom for such a treasure. Think of it. You could live in luxury for the rest of your days, free from this burden." For a heartbeat, Novak was tempted. He imagined a life of ease, of rest for his weary bones. But then he shook his head firmly. "It's not for sale. Its contents are too precious." The merchant's smile faded. "Ah, but what good are precious things if they remain locked away, never to be seen or used? Are you not sacrificing your present for a past you can never reclaim?" Novak had no answer, and the merchant melted back into the crowd, leaving him alone with his thoughts. What would you have done in Novak's place? Would you have sold the chest? As summer faded to autumn, Novak faced his greatest challenge yet. The road ahead narrowed to a rickety wooden bridge spanning a deep chasm. Mist swirled in the depths, and the distant roar of water echoed from far below. Novak approached the bridge cautiously. The wooden planks creaked ominously under his feet. He took another step and another, but as he reached the middle, he felt the bridge sway dangerously under the combined weight of himself and the chest. He froze, heart pounding. He couldn't go forward. The bridge would surely collapse. But he couldn't go back either. He was trapped. As panic began to set in, Novak suddenly heard voices, echoes of his encounters on the road. The old woman's wisdom, the children's innocence, the merchant's temptation. And then, from the deepest recesses of his memory, another voice, his own from long ago. The most precious things in life cannot be contained in a box, no matter how beautiful. With trembling hands, Novak lowered the chest to the bridge. His fingers, stiff from years of gripping the handles, struggled with the latch. Finally, with a soft click, it opened. Novak peered inside, his breath catching in his throat. There, nestled in the velvet lining, lay faded scraps of paper, tarnished trinkets that had long lost their luster. And memories. Oh, the memories were there, but they were pale shadows of what he remembered. As he stared into the chest, Novak began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, then grew until it echoed off the canyon walls. A release of years of pent-up emotion. He had carried this weight for so long, believing it contained his most precious possessions. But the truly precious things, the warmth of the sun on his face, the kindness of strangers, the beauty of the world around him, these couldn't be locked away in a chest. They were to be experienced, cherished in the moment, and then released to make room for new joys. With a deep breath, Novak closed the chest and stood. He looked at it one last time, acknowledging the part of his life it represented. Then, with a mixture of sadness and profound relief, he lifted the chest and let it fall into the mists below. The bridge seemed to sigh with relief, and Novak felt lighter than he had in years. He crossed to the other side with ease, his step buoyant, his eyes bright with unshed tears. As he continued down the path, Novak realized that his journey was far from over. But now, unburdened by the weight of his past, he was free to embrace whatever lay ahead. He noticed the vibrant colors of the autumn leaves, breathed deeply of the crisp air, and smiled at fellow travelers. For the first time in as long as he could remember, Novak was fully present in his own life, ready to create new memories rather than cling to old ones. And as he walked towards the setting sun, he knew that the most precious possession of all was the lightness in his heart. The moral of this story is that holding on to the past can prevent us from living in the present and embracing the future. It's a reminder that while memories are precious, they shouldn't become a burden that stops us from moving forward and experiencing new joys in life. Now, I have a question for you. What chest are you carrying in your life? Is there something from your past that you're holding on to too tightly? How might letting go free you to enjoy the present more fully? If this story resonated with you, please like and share it with others who might benefit from its message. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one. Remember, your comments and thoughts are what make this community special, so please share them below. What part of Novak's journey spoke to you the most? Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and never stop exploring.